also offering obeisance to Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshrumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saha Analita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishnubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhuvevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschate Deshatarine. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna Naranam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudidayet nashtapreshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti nashtaki Krishna swadhamapakate dharma agadi saha kalo nashtam dishamesha puranvarko dhanodita anarthopasmam shakshat bhakti yoga matoksaje lokasya janata vidvams chakre satta samhitam यस्य वै श्रीमानायां कृष्णे परमपुरुषे भक्तिपादते पुंसां शोकमोहयापः. So once again, thank you, my dear friends, for coming together in this wonderful discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we have reached uh, another. Today we're going to study another nectar drop from this ocean of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this ocean of Srimad Bhagavatam is so vast that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that one can have infinite meanings from each of the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. That means we can take one verse of Bhagavatam and we can discuss that forever and forever and forever. We don't have to discuss any other verse in our life. Mahaprabhu himself gave 64 meanings to one verse of Bhagavatam, and in that section, this is a whole chapter in Madhyakanda, then there of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu says that there are unlimited meanings in this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So thank you all for coming together in discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are on first canto, chapter 13, text number 48. Is that correct? I think so. So I will share my screen. First we will recite the verses, and then afterwards we will discuss. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, so let's sing the verse. Tadidam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atma Mananam Sadrik Antaro Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Maya Rudaha. I'll do one more time. Tad idam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atma Atmanam Sadrik Antaro Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Maya Rudaha. Okay, we can go in circle. Everybody reciting the verse.
Tad idam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmatmanam Svadrik Antaro Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Mayayo Ruda.
तदिदं भगवान् राजन् एक आत्मात्मनां त्वदृक् अन्तरोऽनन्तरो भाति पश्यतं माययोरुदा
तदिदं भगवान् राजन् एक आत्मा मनं स्वदृक् अन्तरोऽनन्तरो भाति पश्यतं माययोरुढा
तदिदं भगवान् राजन् एक आत्मात्मनां सदृक् अन्तरोऽनन्तरो भाति पश्यतं माययोरुधा
तदिदं भगवान् राजन् एक आत्मात्मनां स्वदृक् अन्तरोऽनन्तरो भाति पश्यतं माययोरुढा
Tad idam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmatmanam Swadrik Antaro Nantaro Bhati Pashyatam Mayayorudha. I think we're done, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. So we'll do now translation and purport. Again, we can go in turns. I can read the first one, and then afterwards we can take this long. So I think it's a long enough purport. Oh, it's only one purport. Okay. Okay. Therefore, O king, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, who manifests himself by different energies, and is both within and without. I guess I'll do the purport myself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second, but he manifests himself by different energies because he is by nature blissful. The living being is also manifestations of his marginal energy, qualitatively one with the Lord, and there are innumerable living beings both within and without the external and internal energies of the Lord. Since the spiritual world is a manifestation of Lord's internal energies, the living beings within that internal potency are qualitatively one with the Lord without contamination from the external potency. Although qualitatively one with the Lord, the living being, due to contamination of the material world, is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. Such experiences are all ephemeral and do not affect the spirit soul. The perception of such ephemeral happiness and distress is due only to the forgetfulness of his qualities, which are equal to the Lord's. There is, however, a regular current from the Lord himself, from within and without, by which to rectify the fallen condition of the living being. From within he corrects the desiring living beings as localized Paramatma, and from without he corrects by his manifestations, the spiritual master and the revealed scriptures. One should look unto the Lord. One should not be disturbed by the so-called manifestations of happiness and distress, but he should try to cooperate with the Lord in his outward activities for correcting the fallen souls. By his order only, one should become a spiritual master and cooperate with the Lord. One should not become a spiritual master for one's personal benefit, for some material gain, or as an avenue of business or occupation for earning livelihood. Bona fide spiritual masters who look unto the Supreme Lord to cooperate with him are actually qualitatively one with the Lord, and forgetful ones are perverted reflections only. Yudhishthira Maharaj is advised by Narada, therefore, not to be disturbed by the affairs of so-called happiness and distress, but to look only unto the Lord to execute the mission for which the Lord has descended. That was his prime duty. So in this purport, we are hearing from Prabhupada explaining this point, which who is making being spoken by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira and Sanjaya. Why is he speaking this? Because both of them are very sad as an event has happened very recently. Dhṛtarāṣṭra, who is the uncle of Yudhishthira and who is the master of Sanjaya, had left along with his wife without any indication or notice from the whole kingdom and gone somewhere which nobody knew about. Hearing this, these members of the family of the Dhṛtarāṣṭra, they specifically Yudhishthira and Sanjaya, they were distraught. They were very sad, very unhappy. I mean, imagine if somebody passes away, you know how sad that event is. Especially, I remember um, growing up in India, because the families live very close to each other, houses are very close to each other. I remember in my street when somebody else passed away, everybody in the street was crying, whether they were connected or not. They all felt the sadness of the other family because they were wailing at the demise of their dear one. So here also, Yudhishthira, because he's from a very cultured family and attached to Dhṛtarāṣṭra, he feels very sad and very unhappy. And then Sanjaya, because it is his master, he also feels very unhappy. So why is this passage given? Does it mean that we should not be unhappy at the loss of our dear ones? Does it mean that we should all become like rocks when somebody in our family leaves the body? We should not cry, or if a wonderful event happened, we shouldn't smile. Why is this passage given? So the Bhagavatam is not a book on renunciation. It is not giving us a message that we should become like rocks and not have any feelings at all when somebody leaves or when somebody arrives. However, it has a very deep message. What is the deep message which will be discussed, which we'll study in this purport today? So here, the first point Srila Prabhupada makes is that we have to understand the ontology. What is ontology here? What is the tattva? That first of all, Krishna is one without a second. Which means what? He is everywhere. There is nowhere where Krishna is not present. Can somebody find a place in the room where Krishna is not present? Here in this room? No. He's there in the blinds, which is behind Roshni. He's there in the wall behind Harsh. He's there in the mic. He's there in the computer. He's right all around every time he's present. As present in Parmanu. It is said in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying that he is present in every atom of this universe by his potential, by his energies. So he's present everywhere. And how is he present? He's not present also as somebody who is rock or somebody who is void, but he's actually very blissful. He's always very blissful, very happy. Then, the second point Prabhupada says, the living beings are also manifestations of his marginal energy, qualitatively one with the Lord. And there are innumerable living beings both within and without the external and internal energies of the Lord. So here comes a very important point that we as jivas, we are actually an expansion or manifestation of his energy. That means we have a relationship with the Lord, whether we want or not. It is not in our choice. We have a relationship. Whether we want to discover that or play a role in that is up to us. But we do have a relationship with the Lord. Each of us, since time immemorial, have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. As somebody can be present in external energy and somebody could be present in internal energy. These are two different modes in which we could be present. I mean, they're both the extremes. We are somewhere in the middle in the gray scale. There's the internal energy and there's external energy. If we are present in the internal energy, then Prabhupada talks about, since the spiritual world is a manifestation of Lord's internal energy, the living beings within that internal potency are qualitatively one with the Lord without contamination of external potency. So those who are present under the shelter of internal energy, i.e. Srimati Radharani, those who have taken shelter of internal energy of the Lord, they are qualitatively one with the Lord, which means what? They're also knowledgeful, they're also aware of their identity, and they're full of bliss. They're aware of their relationship with the Lord. That is, those who have taken complete shelter of Srimati Radharani. And then there are those who are not taken shelter of the Supreme Lord. They're the second category. What is said? Although qualitatively one with the Lord, the living being, due to contamination of the material world, is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. Such experiences are all ephemeral and do not affect the spirit soul. So here comes where we are. We are in this under the shelter of Maya or Durga Devi, and because of that, we are forgetful of our relationship with the Lord. And because of that forgetfulness, we get carried away by the uh, happiness and distress of this material world. So an example can be given of, say, you go to a cinema hall or a movie theater, or even at your home, you open Netflix and you watch a movie. While the movie is going on, you get carried away with the emotion of the character which is coming in the movie, and you cry with the character, you feel happy with the character. But it is not the case that you can live your life with the character. You can't just watch, say, what was the latest movie game? Dhurandhar came. They were fighting in Pakistan, this and that. You just can't think of that and continue to play like that in the real world. If you play like that, people will say you have become insane, and they may want to put you in a hospital. And that's exactly with our case. We become so attached with the movie which we are watching that Durga Devi has made a material world where we remain stuck, where we remain in the sick zone, sick ward, where we are being treated. So here, uh, a key point is that we should understand that these happiness and distresses which is coming in the material world, we shouldn't become attached to them. They will come and we will get moved by them, but we shouldn't become attached to them. We shouldn't remain, hey, I'm going to hold on to these emotions which have come. Let them come and let them pass, but we don't become attached to them. And how is it possible? It is possible by the mercy of the Lord that we can become detached from these experiences. We can't ourselves force ourselves to become detached from these material experiences, or the fallibility, or the uh, ephemerality of the material world. We can only be protected from these ephemeralities by the help of the Lord, who helps us in two different ways. He helps us in our heart by giving us intelligence, and second, he comes in the form of our teacher or the books, the Srimad Bhagavatam. By taking shelter of these two things, either the soul in the heart, the Paramatma in the heart, the super soul in the heart, or, I mean, not or, and the taking shelter of the spiritual master, and taking shelter of the the books, Srimad Bhagavatam. When we take shelter of these literature and these personalities, then we are able to rise above the ephemeral happiness and distress conditions which we are going to face whether we want it or not. Like, I remember many years ago, like about a decade or so ago, there was so much talk about AIDS being one of the diseases which can't be cured. Let's try to solve it. And now it's no longer the case. Now there's some other disease. Because it is said in the Bhagavatam that our happiness and distress in the material world is fixed, especially for a karmi. Because they have performed some karma in the past, it's going to fructify one way or the other. You can change the name, you can call AIDS to cancer or some other disease, but it is going to fructify for sure. So, what is the responsibility of a jiva? The responsibility of the jiva is to correct his consciousness by taking shelter of spiritual master and reveal scriptures, and one should look to what? Cooperate with the Lord, which means one should try to do activities which are for the pleasure of the Lord. And when one does that, the activities which are meant for the pleasure of the Lord, those activities are called bhakti. And bhakti should not be performed for material purposes, but they should be performed for the pleasure of the Lord. That is the key point which is being made. And Yudishtira Maharaj has been advised by Narada Muni that don't get carried away with this happiness and distress. Okay, it has happened that the Dhṛtarāṣṭra is left and you're sad, but focus on your eternal relationship with the Lord, which is much, much more important. Because if we forget our eternal relationship, if we don't focus enough on our eternal relationship, we will never develop it. We will remain in the same place. Suppose in this lifetime we don't want to invest in our spiritual life, we're thinking we would do it another time. We have to go through the same things one more time, one more time, one more time, and there's no end to it. So we need to take time out on a regular basis to immerse ourselves, to absorb ourselves in our eternal relationship with the Lord. So why I say so? Why we need to absorb ourselves? Because what we absorb ourselves in, that's what we become in future. Just like many of you have made it to here to US, to a prestigious institution. I'm sure there was a time in your life when you were meditating very deeply, very intensely, that you wanted to achieve a higher form of education. You wanted to have an occupation or work which is higher than most of the masses around you. And because of the meditation, you were able to focus your energy and focus your actions in this direction of getting admission in prestigious university. And then after coming to university also, you said you had a focus that you want to really excel in what you're studying there. And then because of that, you're able to also secure a good job or a good further education prospect. So it all comes first with absorption. Wherever our attention is, that's where, you know, our energy flows. This is something said by Vaisheshika Prabhu. He says, wherever we put our attention, that's where our energy flows. So if our attention is on the spiritual world, then that's where our energy will flow. What does that mean? That means we should be paying attention and absorption in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And it is not artificial. It is innately present in the body or in the presence of the jiva. Just like uh, just like learning to walk. Is that something artificial? Is there something which comes from outside? No, it is innately present in a small child. He just needs to be a little bit, helped out. Similarly, we all have a very unique and very sweet relationship with the Lord. That is our nature. And as we invest our time in spiritual life, we discover that relationship. We can take time to learn, discover it. So that it means we will take time to learn to walk. But one day, one way or the other, we have to learn to walk. Otherwise, this life here is too boring, too crazy to stay in the material world. There are so many reasons why we don't want in the material world, and I can give you, first reason, the mosquitoes. They bite you all the time, especially in the summer season. And there are so many reasons why you don't want to in the material world. But in the spiritual world, it is full with sweetness because Krishna is present there. So we need to absorb ourselves in the relationship which we have with Krishna. So how can we absorb ourselves in the relationship which we have with Krishna? It begins with chanting the holy name. Because when we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, there is Hare, which is energy of the Lord, and there's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we're saying Hare Krishna, Prabhupada says Krishna doesn't mean just Krishna himself. Krishna means Krishna and his whole world. Hare means Radharani, Radharani and her whole world. And we belong to that world. So basically, we're calling out our eternal identity. So when we're calling Hare Krishna, we're basically saying, oh Lord, please situate me in my relationship with you, where I belong. You're basically chanting your own name in the spiritual world. What are our own names? It is hidden. It will be revealed to us as we go further in this spiritual journey. That is what's supposed to happen. A point should come in a spiritual life where Krishna will reveal to us in our heart. Our Guru will reveal to us when we meet a wonderful Guru. It can happen multiple ways. It can happen either through chanting, it can happen either through Paramatma, or it can happen through a great spiritual master that they reveal to us what is our identity. And slowly, slowly, we're able to realize it. We're able to realize what our services are. And slowly, slowly, by the mercy of the Lord, we're also able to experience it. And then after that, we experience it. When we leave the material body, we become situated in that Goloka Vrindavan. Sorry, no, Golok Vrindavan, in which Krishna has come down on the material earth. And we learn all the different services or all different relationships which we have. And once we are trained here in the material world, then we go back to spiritual world where we're eternally situated forever and forever in that different services. And none of the services are fixed. They're all dynamic. Every time they're changing. It's not that the spiritual world is boring, that we do same thing every day. No, the spiritual world also is evolving every day. Like it is said, Srimati Radharani never cooks the same item twice. That means since the beginning of the time, or since time immemorial, she has been cooking things and she has never repeated herself. And she keeps on going. Similar with singing, similarly with dressing, similarly with meetings. Every day is a new meeting. Every day is a new activity like that. So, how can we meditate on the spiritual world? One is by meditating on the holy name. What are some different ways by which we can meditate on the spiritual world? Can somebody share? How can we be absorbed in our relationship with the Supreme Lord? Can hear devotees in the assembly share some ideas?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, for me, sometimes doing seva at the temple, I feel, in my experiences, that has helped me a lot to feel a glimpse of the bliss.
Very good. Yes, when we are serving the deities in the temple, because at present we can't see them because we have our eyes are basically like buttons. But once we rub love, then the eyes become covered with salve of love, then we can really see the deities. But even before that, we can offer services to them because we can't see, but other great devotees can see. And then when we serve them, then Krishna in our heart gives reciprocation. Very good. Yes, that's one way of absorbing ourselves in that eternal reality. It is by doing seva at the temple. What else?
By hearing Prabhuji.
Yes, by hearing. Yes, by hearing about the spiritual world, like what's happening in the spiritual world on day-to-day basis. Like right now, I want to read to you a small section, which I will share now. This is a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So this book Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there's this devotee Gopakumar. He is telling his own story that how did he enter spiritual world. His very fascinating story. How he basically he's very advanced sadhaka. So he meets a teacher who gives him. He has a lot of faith already in the holy name, and he has a lot of faith in Krishna already from past lives. So he meets a spiritual master who gives him a mantra, and he meditates with lots of absorption. And because of that absorption, he's able to reach very quickly to Golok Vrindavan here on the material world, in the material earth. So there he gets to meet Krishna. So we will hear when he meets Krishna for the first time what happens. This is also similar what will happen to us when we enter spiritual world. Depending on whether we're Krishna's friend or Radharani's friend, this is the kind of experience which will happen. Are we ready? Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so this is Sarupa. He's telling a story. So this is Gopakumar, sorry, not Sarupa. Of course, Gopakumar is his name in the material world, and his name in the spiritual world is Sarupa. He's one of Krishna's friend. Okay, he's Krishna's Sakha. You follow? So he, for the first time, is going to meet Krishna here in the material world in a Goloka manifestation. Goloka appears in different parts of material world. There's like we are in one universe, one Brahmanda. Krishna came 5,000 years ago. But in other Brahmanda, Krishna is just appearing. So before we go to the spiritual world, we first go to this world where we get a chance to meet Krishna. So he's meeting Krishna for the first time in some Brahmanda, this devotee. His name is Gopakumar, but soon he will find out also his name in the spiritual world. Okay, are you ready? So he hears the sound of Krishna's flute. What happens then? I too went forward as if pulled by someone. Joining the throngs of gopis rushing forward on all sides, I too began to run quickly. So he hears sound of flute and he's running. Then from a distance I saw him, his charming flute in hand. Running quickly, he emerged from among his friends and animals and approached me, saying in a sweet voice, "Look, Sridham." So Krishna is speaking to his friend Sridham. "Here is my dear friend Sarupa, the sun who shines on the lotus of your family." So Krishna for the first time tells Gopakumar what his name is. What is his name? Sarupa. And he's from the family of Sridham is from the family of Radharani. So he's saying this is from your own family. That means Sarupa also belongs to family of Radharani, but he is a boyfriend of Krishna. Okay, Asaka. Then next, Krishna was dressed for the forest. His garments, earrings, peacock feather crown, all swayed to and fro, and so did his garland of kadamba flowers. His fragrance perfumed all directions. His beautiful face blossomed with a playful smile. So what happened? Krishna saw this, his friend Sarupa, and now he starts running. And now because he's running, what's happening? His garments, his earrings, his peacock feather, everything is going left and right because he's running. He really wants to meet Sarupa because he's seeing Sarupa after a long time. His lotus eyes beam with a merciful glance, and the varied essence of beauty decorated him in a singular way. The fingers of his lotus hand busily pushed back the locks of his hair, which flew about, adorned with the dust raised by the cows. His tender divine lotus feet touched the surface of the earth just to grant her the gift of supreme splendor. Playfully dancing as they moved, they attracted everyone's heart with their great eagerness to walk quickly with large steps. So when Krishna is moving, the earth also is, with every step offering her feelings to Krishna. The earth is conscious. So Krishna is also feeling earth's eagerness that this interaction or this meeting of Krishna with Srupa happens very quickly. So now everybody's dancing, everybody's attracted because a wonderful event is about to happen. Krishna is going to meet his friend for the first time. The effulgence of his dark colored body, shining with full sweetness of youth, lit up all corners of the sky. His beauty, which captured the hearts of ever dear devotees of Raja, was an ocean abounding with countless excellences. He leaped forward, so Krishna is running faster and faster, and came close to me, compelled by the affection of his helpless devotee. I fainted in love at seeing him. So Srupa, he couldn't even meet Krishna. Just seeing Krishna and seeing his love for him, he fainted. He caught hold of me by neck. So Krishna held him up. And then he also fell to the ground. Krishna also was so much feeling love for Sarupa that first Sarupa fell unconscious, or Gopakumar fell unconscious, and then Krishna fell unconscious. And they both fell on the ground, unconscious, overwhelmed by love for each other because they're meeting for the first time. So this is going to be our future if we make progress in spiritual life. Isn't it amazing? A moment later, I reawoke and carefully freed my neck from his grasp. So somehow that he came back to consciousness, and Krishna was holding him tightly like this. He freed himself because he was feeling embarrassed. Like all the friends, everybody's all around him, and he's embraced by Krishna, and Krishna is on the ground. I stood up and saw him on the ground unconscious. So Krishna is still unconscious. He's still being carried by love. Because what happens when Krishna meets somebody, they're not only embracing physically, they're also embracing internally. Like when Krishna meets Radharani, he doesn't always meets her only physically, but he also embraces Radharani in the heart. Similarly, here also Krishna is relishing meeting his friend internally in his heart. So much so that he's completely forgot about what's happening in the external world. Covered with dust, he was moistening the path with his tears. And he's crying. He's crying tears of ecstasy because he's so happy to meet his friend. And Sanatana Goswami writes that his tears were turning dust on the road into mud. It was becoming muddy there. So much tears were there. Then now, some gopis came. So, oh, look who has come here. What has he done? He has put our life and soul into such a state. Alas, alas, just see, people of Raja, now we are all dead. Now, Krishna's other friends and gopis, they always are worried about something bad happening to Krishna. They saw Krishna and they thought this is a demon, who has come to attack Krishna. This must be some servant of that great wizard Kamsa. Lamenting like this in many ways, the gopis cried loudly in distress as they surrounded Krishna. Then from behind Krishna, several groups of cowherds quickly approached. Seeing him in such a state, they cried with pitiful voices. From far away in the village, Nanda and other elder cohorts heard this terrible sound of crying. So too did Yashoda, ever affectionate to her son, and so did the other elder ladies and the maid servants. Together they all ran to that place, their feet stumbling on the path. Bewildered, they too cried, Alas, alas! And the cows and bulls, calves came there, and the black deer and other animals. Seeing Krishna in that state, they wept in agony. The animals, all crying out in love, their faces drenched with floods of tears, approached Krishna one by one and gently smelled and licked him again and again. So everybody's trying to wake up Krishna, but Krishna is still unconscious. Great numbers of birds flying overhead also told also them of their misery by making a tumultuous noise that sounded like people crying. So the birds are conscious of relationships with Krishna has. And the immobile creatures in great pain within seemed suddenly to dry up. What more there is to say? All beings moving and non-moving were on the verge of death. As for me, I was drowning in a vast ocean of sorrow. Confused about what to do, severely tormented, I put Krishna's feet on my head and began profusely sobbing and lamenting. So he's crying. He's like, for the first time meeting Krishna, and Krishna is my bosom friend, and now he's unconscious. So he's sad and he starts crying. Then Lord Balabhadra, who's the Lord Balaram, Krishna's older brother, quickly arrived from some distance full of fear. White complexion and arrayed in blue garments, he appeared charming, as for he was the same age as Krishna and as nicely dressed. So he appeared, and he knows how to solve problems. Lord Balabhadra, the most skillful of persons, cried for a moment. First, he also, got moved by everybody's crying. Then seemed to regain his composure and looked all around. With great care and attention, he made me hold his younger brother by the neck with my arms. So now he asked Rupa, "You hold him again in the neck." And then he wiped Krishna's beautiful limbs clean with my hand and made me, which means Sarupa, loudly call out to him with many plaintive cries, "Krishna, Krishna, Krishna." And then he made me lift Krishna up from the ground. Now Balaram is saying, lift him up, chant his name loudly in his ear, bring him out of his consciousness because he is completely lost in his love for you in his heart. So when externally you will call out his name, then he will be awakened up externally to embrace you externally. Suddenly, Krishna opened his eyes, sealed till of tears. Seeing me, he joyfully embraced and kissed me. So Krishna kissed Sarupa. Isn't that sweet? But then he looked around and became embarrassed because everybody saw it. Then that best of lords took my hand in his own left lotus hand. So Krishna in his left hand took the hand of Rupa and received me as a long lost bosom friend. He asked me various questions. Hey, how are you? How's your health? And then he greeted all the people of Raja and entered the best of Kahor villages with the gait of an elephant. So now he entered the village along with Sarupa's hand in his hand. So now we'll go on. I mean, this description goes on and on, but the essence is that that's how Krishna meets his friend, and that's our future if we meditate on spiritual world. Now somebody may say, Prabhuji, with you I feel some taste, but without you it's difficult to read these passages. We don't have any taste for hearing Krishna Katha. We miss it. Just like with chanting, we chant whether we have a taste or not. Similarly, we're supposed to also meditate on Krishna's pastimes, hear them, read them, whether we have a taste or not, as a practice. And slowly, we develop a taste. Just like right now, if somebody would tell you, tomorrow onwards, stop chanting. No matter how hard you try, you cannot stop chanting now because it is now embedded into your blood, into your veins. It's very difficult to stop chanting now. It's practically impossible. Similarly, when we hear again and again in this pastoral spiritual world, a moment comes where we become immersed in them forever and forever and forever. You like that? I mean, it starts with small. It starts with small meditation, like we read right now. We'll remember this for the next half an hour. Then we read more. Then we remember for an hour. We read more. We hear more. Then we can remember these pastimes for longer and longer. And this way we can become also absorbed. So yes, healing is one wonderful way of becoming absorbed in our identity in the spiritual world. And chanting, and as Praneeth mentioned, by doing service in the temple. What are some other ways of becoming absorbed in the spiritual world? Can somebody share more?
Probably so deep desire to uh, uh, realize our relationship with Krishna, like deep desire.
Yes, having a desire. If we have a deep desire, then that's how we can become also absorbed in healing pastimes of, in becoming absorbed in our spiritual identity. Very good. And practically all the elements of bhakti are for that purpose. They're for the purpose of becoming absorbed in our spiritual world. In fact, any service which we do with this attitude that we are doing this for the pleasure of Krishna, then that service can take us to spiritual world. See, Prabhupada writes in one of the purports in 7th canto, I was reading the other day, I can send you later, where it says people who are karmis, what they do is they do an activity and at the end they offer some of the results of the activity to Krishna, saying that I offer this results to Krishna. But a devotee on the other side, what he does, he even before doing any work, he first offers his heart to Krishna. He says, "Oh dear Krishna, I offer my heart to you, and I'm going to do this service or this activity, and I want to offer this for your pleasure." And then he does the service like that. So any activity which we do, uh, if we have the right attitude that we're doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, and then that activity can take us in becoming absorbed in our spiritual world, in our spiritual identity. And of course, the primary activities are hearing and chanting, or the Navada Bhakti. But every activity can be used, can be dedicated to Krishna, and can help us becoming absorbed in Krishna's service. Here in the purport, I want to summarize the key points Prabhupada discussed. First, Prabhupada discussed ontology, what our position is, what is the position of those souls which are in the spiritual world, what is the position of those who are present in the material world. And then Prabhupada discusses the method by which we can become absorbed in our spiritual identity. He says it's by the blessing of Paramatma, or by hearing scriptures, or by taking association of sadhus. And then Prabhupada says that we should focus our attention on doing service for Krishna's pleasure, cooperating with Krishna's desire. And what is Krishna's desire? Krishna's desire is that more and more people become aware of their identity in the spiritual world. And when we focus our attention on these services, on fulfilling Krishna's desire, then we can rise above the ephemerality of this material world. So with this, I would like to end. Anybody has any comments or reflections? We'll have to hear those now.
Prabhuji, I had a question. We talked about how, like, doing bhakti and chanting leads us to a level where we are like not affected by the distress and happiness of the world. But then
Right.
there was another conversation about sometimes people assume it as being like a rock or something, like you don't feel emotions at all.
Right. Right.
So I am like sometimes confused, like what's the difference? How would it be different once we, get disaffected? We are not affected by distress and happiness as compared to someone who's completely emotionally closed off to that situations.
Wow, very good point. Yes, it's a good question. Once there was a devotee, he came up to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, uh, my wife left me. So, and I do not feel any sadness on such happening, and I would like to take sannyas. And Prabhupada said, no, you're not fit for such a position, because you should be sad that uh, somebody who was so dear to you has left, and that you're not feeling sad. So, um, a devotee is not somebody who has a heart which is very rock. In fact, his heart is so soft that he feels pain for every jiva. He doesn't feel sadness for just the ones who are connected to him with bloodline, but he feels sadness for anybody's difficulty, whether they are connected to him physically or not. So it is said a Vaishnava is para dukha dukhi. When he sees anybody in dukh, he feels sad. Whereas uh, normal conditioned soul is para dukha sukhi. He feels happy when other people are in distress. That's what happens in the material world. In the job, you feel another person fail at something, you were very happy. Hey, okay, that guy's algorithm failed, or that guy's application failed. So now, I get a chance to make a promotion, or my thing will go higher. But a devotee of the Lord has become so soft-hearted that he connects the pain. So as we practice spiritual life, it is not that we don't have any more emotions, but our emotions become more and more deeper. That we start seeing beyond ephemerality. Just to give you an example, I mean, this is a famous story which everybody tells, that if you see a child who is crying because he has lost his parents, a person can come, a stranger can come, and you can give them a candy, a toy, and calm the child. But really, the child is really, really crying. Why is the child really crying? The child is really, really crying because the child has lost his parents. Similarly, when we understand that in this material world, why people are really feeling happiness or distress, it is because they don't have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. They have forgotten the relationship with Supreme Lord. No matter what situation we create in the material world, there cannot be any perfect situation at all. I mean, no matter you get the best partner, you get the best house, the best job, or best business. There is no perfect situation. There's always going to be some or other thing which will break apart because this is the nature of the material world. So we understand that this is not the place where we belong. Just like a fish belongs in the water, a fish can never be happy in a small, aquarium. He has to go in the ocean. That's where they're really happy. Similarly, we can be really, really happy only when we're in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So when some near or dear one passes away, we get moved by it for the moment, but we understand what the underlying reality is. The underlying reality is that we need to develop a relationship with the Supreme Lord, and that's what our heart is really, really aching for. That's what our heart really, really wants. So we are able to sympathize with the deepest cry of the soul, uh, our own and others, as we progress on spiritual life. So our heart becomes more and more soft. This is my understanding. And the other people can also add if you want to add something. Or does it satisfy you, Pratibha?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your views on this. Yes, it does. Because sometimes it gets confusing. Like you are like developing, you feel that you are going on the right path, but then you still feel like emotions for other people. And then you're like, oh, am I supposed to not feel it? Am I not progressing? So it's all
Right.
like a state of like question. And because we touched on this in today's class, I thought it would be a good.
Yeah, it was a very good observation of yours. Like as we go spiritual and grow more and more spiritual life, we will start feeling connecting with the difficulties with which other people face, whether they are connected to us through blood or not. In fact, a Vaishnava becomes really, really, really soft-hearted. He becomes moved by everything. Like there was this one devotee, his name was Vasudev Ghosh. He was an associate of Mahaprabhu, and he said, seeing the sadness or the difficulties of jivas, he said, let me bear the pain and the karma of everybody in the material world, oh Lord. Let them not have any pain at all. You just take everybody back home and let me suffer on behalf of them. So this is the mood of a Vaishnava, that he becomes moved by everybody's unhappiness, not just one or two family members, but everybody.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the class. I have a short, small question, Prabhuji. We talked about how anything we do, we should do it for offer our heart and do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So oftentimes, like with me, like whenever I do anything like something or like probably like a seva, I start with this intention that I'm doing this for the pleasure of Krishna. But then for some reason, as things progress for the surroundings or how the events go, my consciousness or the mood by that end is no longer that I did it for the pleasure of Krishna. It's disturbed or it's moved away from the place where I started. Is it
Yeah.
fine or how? What should we do so that we like maintain it? Any sort of.
Uh, Very good point. This basically your question is how can we make progress in Krishna consciousness? That's the basically question. Because as you become more and more Krishna conscious, you would not be thinking of the material activity, but be absorbing Krishna's life, Krishna's activities, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's beauty. So how can we make progress in spiritual life? It is through bhakti, and the most important element of bhakti is association with sadhus. So the more we can take association of wonderful devotees, the more we'll make progress on spiritual life. We can take a shelter of them through the books, through the writings, and in person, hearing from them, serving with them. And the more time we spend in their shelter, the more we will learn what bhakti is. Because bhakti is not something which can be uh, created. It is something which is given as a gift. And when we are with wonderful devotees, then that Bhakti Devi from their heart gets transferred into our heart. And then that transfer allows us to become more and more aware of Krishna's qualities, beauties, and features like that. Just like Mother Yamuna, I was thinking about her. She used to, before doing any service, she used to say a very deep prayer to Prabhupada before doing any and every service. She'll offer pranam mantra of Prabhupada, and then she will start her service. So that's one thing we can follow her example. That we can offer prayers and pranam mantra to Prabhupada. And then once we have done that, then we can start the service. But there is no alternative to sadhu sangha. So by hook or crook, find sadhus and spend time in their shelter. Take their association.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Again, as always, thank you again for a session. Today, one of the takeaways was again to see that Yudishtira Maharaj, in spite of being the most qualified devotee of the Lord, every time I read these verses or hear these verses, I also see that he also has to undergo or experience some of these material attachments. And it is also great to see that he's guided by even greater personalities like Sri Narada Muni. This also reminds me that I should continue to be, if this is the best leader of India, right? Like we have in our heritage, Yudhishthira Maharaj as other leaders we should be looking up to. If they're experiencing something like this in spite of their divine qualities, then for me to make any progress, I should also be a little more obedient, a little more grounded, seek the support and association of bhaktas to navigate life, even understand what devotional service and that path means. And I think it always comes back to being associated with the Lord through the Mahamantra, that's chanting, hearing, service. Even the Leela about Sri Krishna and Swarupa are very wonderful. One of my questions is also related to Kishan's, where even on some days when I'm trying to chant right now, most days my baseline is 4 rounds. Some good days I'm doing 8 rounds, but I'm not really able to sustain the 16 rounds. So some days my rounds I feel are very mechanical. Some days I feel connected right away. Some days even after the end of round 4 or round 8, I feel like I just chanted, I've said some mantras and rounds, but I don't get that same feeling of bliss. My understanding is that I should do this to first get into the practice of it. And sometimes I'm also concerned that I'm probably too obsessed with how many rounds I'm doing. So the quality or quantity is a concern I always have. And yeah, I just feel, do I continue to chant some X number of rounds even if I feel nothing? Assuming it is as practice towards spiritual growth. Or is there something else I should do in my correction so that I'm not wasting my time doing mechanical rounds too much? And I also feel sometimes learning about the 10 offenses, since then, I feel my quality of rounds has gone even further. Before that, I feel like I was a little more connected. But then when they say being inattentive during chanting itself is a sin or the offense, I think I've become a little more conscious about how I'm chanting. So this is, if you can give me any suggestions on how I can navigate this.
See, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam tadha bhajamiham ma vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasaha. Ye yathamam prapadyante. As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So as you're chanting Krishna's name, Krishna is also thinking about you in the same manner. So if you're thinking of Krishna in a mechanical manner, Krishna is also thinking of you in a very mechanical manner. If you're doing XYZ and while doing the XYZ, or you're thinking of XYZ and you're chanting Krishna's name, Krishna is also reciprocating in the same manner. He's not giving full attention to you because you're not giving full attention to him in the form of his holy name. So yes, that is our biggest problem. What is the biggest problem? That we don't have taste for chanting the holy names. We don't have taste for hearing Krishna Katha. We don't have taste for doing service. But the most wonderful thing is, as you're sharing this Praneeth in this call, is that you have a desire to increase. And Krishna in the heart is also hearing that. When you just told me this thing, Krishna already heard it. Because Krishna says in the Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Hridaya Sanavishto. I am situated in everyone's heart. So now and then you can offer these prayers to Krishna, just like you shared with me right now openly in front of your friends, you can share this prayer to Krishna in your private time. Oh dear Krishna, I'm trying to chant these 4 rounds, but I'm having a hard time. I'm not having the attention. I'm not having I'm chanting mechanically. And you will see Krishna, when he hears these prayers of yours, he will start creating situations where you're able to have association with wonderful sadhus. Because we by ourselves cannot make spiritual progress. We have to have association with sadhus. And sadhus don't come by our own effort. Krishna has to send them. We cannot also ourselves take a ticket to Jagannath Puri and meet sadhus or Vrindavan or Mayapur. Krishna has to send sadhus in our life. So when does Krishna send those? When we are really sincere. So Krishna will send help if you continue to what you're doing right now, which is you continue chanting and you continue sharing your heart with Krishna and your friends. That, oh dear Krishna, I would like to chant nicely. Oh dear Krishna, I would like to hear your pastimes properly, but I'm having difficulty. Just like with a friend you share. And Krishna says also, another place in Gita, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. He says, I'm the best friend of all the living entities. So Krishna is a good friend, Harsh is a good friend, Roshni, Gitika, Pratibha, they all are good friends. But nobody can be better friend of ours than Krishna. Why? Guess why? Because he's the one who is closest. He knows all our secrets. He has seen all the dirty things and good things. He knows what we really are. So when we share your heart with Krishna as a friend, there is no doubt that he would not send resources or help to make you progress. So you have to continue what you're doing right now and add what are you doing in these prayers, which you anyway you're doing, and make them more explicit. Tell them Krishna more often when you see Krishna, or when you like you're sharing with me. You can try to add these things more regularly to your time, to your life, and then Krishna will send wonderful opportunities, sadhus in your life, and by the association you will make progress.
Understood, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu, I just wanted to share. Thank you so much for the amazing class. Um, the aspect of that everything, even hearing chanting, is for the service of Krishna is very beautiful because when I'm chanting, it's just for, okay, let me purify myself, let me work on myself. But even chanting as an offering to Krishna, even hearing, because on Ekadashi, Deva Madhav Prabhu invited Pramada Mataji, and she was talking about the same thing, that chanting should be as a offering to Krishna, bowing down to Krishna. And she did a meditation, so I very much appreciated this point too. And um, yeah, that was my point.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that's one. See, now you had just wonderful association of Mother Pranada. She's such an exalted soul. So I'm glad you chance to get associated with her, and she led you all in meditation, and that will stay as a very deep experience because she's a very elevated personality. So when we meet such souls regularly, as often as possible, then we make a lot of spiritual progress. Thank you for sharing that, Ash.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Every time you join us, although we talk about Shastra, it feels very practical and a little more achievable. Yeah, thanks, Prabhuji. And I think everybody already had such great reflections. For me, I think something that I'll take away or try to be more conscious of is where my attention is. Because as you mentioned, that our energy flows wherever our attention is. So although deep down we have that remembrance because based off of what we hear and see throughout the day, we feel either disturbed or a little happy or sad. But yeah, I think I want to consciously be mindful of where my time and energy goes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's from Vaisheshwar Prabhu. He has spoken many classes on this topic. You can hear. He's also a wonderful soul, yes. Is that everybody done? Okay, so we can stop here then. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll say Pranam Mandir to Prabhupada at the end. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Taharine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we thank him for his wonderful gift in the form of his wonderful translations and commentaries. And we hope, we all pray to Krishna that one day we can develop a very strong relationship with him, really know him in person. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.